The vast emptiness of space lit up with brilliant flashes as the Empire's scout fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Their massive ships, each the size of a small city, moved with practiced grace as they approached the blue-green planet ahead. Earth looked peaceful from this distance, its oceans gleaming under the sun's light. In the Empire's lead ship, Lord Grey stood tall, his silver-scaled skin reflecting the soft lights of the bridge. He watched the primitive planet with something close to boredom. After all, this was just another routine expansion of the Empire's borders. "My lord, we're detecting artificial satellites and basic space stations," reported one of his officers. "The species appears to have achieved basic spaceflight." Lord Grey nodded slowly. "Send the standard greeting package. Let's get this over with quickly." On Earth, things were far from quiet. In the underground command center of the Earth Defense Force, Admiral James Stone stood before a massive holographic display, watching the alien ships with sharp, calculating eyes. Around him, operators worked at their stations with practiced calm, though their tight expressions betrayed their tension. "Sir, they're broadcasting a message," reported his communications officer. "Standard radio waves. Basic encryption." Stone allowed himself a small smile. Let them think Earth was still struggling with basic technology. "Put it through," he ordered. The message was clear and simple. The Galactic Empire had arrived. Earth was to surrender immediately and join as a protectorate state. Resistance would be met with force. They had one Earth day to respond. Stone clicked his communication panel. "Send our response. Visual format." The Empire's bridge crew was surprised when they received an immediate reply. Lord Grey watched as a human appeared on their main screen. Admiral Stone stood straight in his simple blue uniform, hands clasped behind his back. "I am Admiral James Stone of the Earth Defense Force," he began, his voice steady and clear. "We know who you are. We know what you've done to other worlds. We've been watching for longer than you might think." Lord Grey's amusement turned to slight annoyance. These primitives dared to speak as equals. "You have achieved basic spaceflight," Lord Grey responded. "Impressive for your kind, but nothing compared to the Empire's might. Surrender now, and your integration will be peaceful." Stone's expression didn't change, but his eyes hardened. "You mistake our peaceful appearance for weakness, Lord Grey. This is not ignorance speaking. This is experience. We know exactly what we're dealing with. You dare threaten the Empire?" Lord Grey's voice carried centuries of absolute authority. "No," Stone replied calmly. "This is not a threat. This is a warning from one spacefaring civilization to another. Turn back now, for your own sake." The bridge of the Empire's ship filled with laughter. Lord Grey raised his hand, silencing his crew. "You have made your choice then. The Empire will teach you your place." "You're right about one thing," Stone said, his voice carrying a weight that made even Lord Grey pause. "A choice has been made here today. Remember, in the days to come, we warned you. We gave you a chance to walk away." The transmission cut off. Lord Grey turned to his command staff. "Prepare the subjugation fleet. Standard protocol. 200 ships should be enough for these primitives." Back on Earth, Stone watched the Empire ships retreat to faster-than-light travel. One of his junior officers approached nervously. "Sir, should we activate our defenses now?" Stone shook his head. "Not yet. Let them come in force first. Let them commit fully to their mistake." He turned to face his crew, his voice carrying across the command center. "Send word to all stations. Operation Looking Glass is now in effect. We've spent 100 years preparing for this day. Let's show them why humanity's greatest weapon has always been patience." As Stone looked back at the stars where the Empire ships had been, he felt no joy in what was to come, only a deep, quiet certainty. The Empire thought they were the hunters today. They would learn soon enough who the real hunters were. 3 days after the first contact, space around Earth lit up again. This time, 200 Empire warships appeared, their metal hulls gleaming like angry stars in the darkness. The massive fleet spread out in a standard attack formation, ready to begin what they thought would be an easy victory. On the bridge of the lead ship, Lord Grey stood with his arms crossed, a satisfied smile on his face. "Send the final warning," he ordered. "Though I doubt these primitives will even understand what's about to happen to them." In Earth's underground command center, Admiral Stone watched the enemy fleet's formation on the main screen. Around him, his crew worked quietly at their stations, each person knowing exactly what to do. Years of training were about to pay off. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "the Empire ships are in position. They're broadcasting their final warning." Stone nodded slowly. "Let them finish their message. Then activate the defense grid." High above Earth, hidden in plain sight, thousands of small satellites began to power up. For decades, Earth had claimed they were weather monitors, research tools, and communication relays. The Empire's scans had dismissed them as primitive technology. That was their first mistake. "My lord," an Empire officer suddenly called out, "I'm detecting energy readings from the satellites around Earth. They're not what we thought they were." Before Lord Grey could respond, the space around his fleet lit up with brilliant blue light. The hidden satellites revealed their true nature. They were quantum-linked weapon platforms, each one carrying technology far beyond what the Empire thought humans could achieve. "Impossible," Lord Grey shouted as the first wave of shots tore through his fleet's shields like they weren't even there. "Their weapons, they're piercing our defensive fields." The Empire fleet scrambled to respond, but they had positioned themselves perfectly for Earth's trap. The defense grid didn't just fire energy weapons. Each satellite released swarms of tiny drones that attached themselves to the Empire ships. "What are these devices?" An Empire commander screamed over the communications channel. "They're eating through our hulls." Stone watched calmly as the battle unfolded. "Send in the interceptors," he ordered. "Show them what human pilots can do." From hidden bases on Earth's moon, hundreds of small, fast ships launched into space. While the Empire had expected primitive rockets, these were advanced fighters equipped with technology that had been kept secret for exactly this moment. The human ships moved in ways the Empire had never seen, using gravity manipulation drives that let them turn impossible angles. Empire gunners couldn't track them. It was like trying to shoot at ghosts. "Fall back," Lord Grey ordered as another of his heavy cruisers exploded. "Reform the defensive line." But there was nowhere safe to reform. The quantum satellites had surrounded the entire fleet, their weapons linked together in a perfect killing field. Every time the Empire ships tried to escape, they found their path blocked by another wave of fire. After just 30 minutes of battle, the space around Earth was filled with the burning wreckage of Empire ships. Of the 200 vessels that had arrived, only 20 managed to jump away to safety. In the command center, Stone's crew began cheering, but he raised his hand for silence. "This isn't a victory," he said firmly. "This was just the beginning. Send the cleanup crews to collect the wreckage. We don't want them studying our weapons too closely." As the surviving Empire ships fled at full speed, Lord Grey stood in his damaged bridge, his pride shattered like his fleet. "How?" he whispered. "How did we not see this coming?" One of his surviving officers spoke up quietly. "My lord, I've analyzed their attack pattern. This wasn't just advanced technology. Every move they made was planned. They knew exactly how we would attack. They'd been preparing for this for years." Lord Grey watched the blue planet disappear behind them as they escaped. The human's warning echoed in his mind. "We know exactly what we're dealing with." Now he understood. They hadn't just fought a primitive species today. They had walked straight into a trap generations in the making. The Empire's War Council gathered in their grand hall on their capital world, Primaris. The massive room was filled with angry voices as military leaders argued about their shocking defeat at Earth. "It must have been luck," shouted one general, pounding his fist on the table. "Those primitives simply got lucky." Lord Grey stood silent, his usual confidence gone after watching his fleet burn. Another council member, Lord Red, took control of the meeting. "We will send a proper fleet this time. 500 ships. We will crush these humans and—" A young officer burst into the room, his scales pale with fear. "My lords, we're detecting multiple unknown ships appearing throughout Empire space." On the bridge of the human warship Thunder, Captain Anna Miller watched her fleet emerge from dimensional shift. Her ships appeared like ghosts, passing through space itself to arrive deep inside Empire territory. This was humanity's greatest secret, technology that let them slip between the fabric of space-time itself. "All ships report ready," her second-in-command said. "The Empire doesn't even have their shields up. They never expected us to reach them here." Miller nodded. "Begin Operation Payback. Remember your targets, military only. No civilian casualties." Across Empire space, human ships appeared from nowhere. Their ghost fleet struck with surgical precision, decades of gathered intelligence guiding each attack. Space stations exploded, defense platforms went dark, and military bases burned. Back in the War Council, chaos erupted as reports flooded in. 7 shipyards destroyed, 3 fleet bases under attack. "They're everywhere." Lord Red stared at the tactical display in horror. "How did they get past our border defenses?" "They didn't go past them," Lord Grey said quietly. "They went through them, like they weren't even there." In deep space, Miller's fleet approached their primary target, the Empire's largest military shipyard. Her ships moved in perfect formation, their black hulls absorbing light and sensor scans alike. Years of studying Empire technology had taught humans exactly how to stay invisible to their systems. "Enemy ships approaching," her tactical officer reported. "They're trying to form a defensive line." Miller allowed herself a small smile. "Show them our new toys." From the human ships, thousands of small objects launched into space. The Empire crews watched in confusion as what looked like metal dust spread toward their vessels. Then the dust came alive. "My ship's not responding." An Empire captain screamed over the communication channels. "Something's in our systems." The dust was actually advanced nanites, microscopic robots that could eat through Empire technology like acid through paper. Humanity had spent years learning how Empire ships worked, and these nanites were programmed to take them apart piece by piece. "This is impossible," Lord Red shouted as more reports of destruction came in. "These humans, they're using technology we've never seen before." An older council member, who had been quiet until now, finally spoke up. "Check the deep archives," he said. "Find out everything we know about Earth. Something isn't right here." In the archives, Empire researchers made a startling discovery. They found ancient sensor logs from centuries ago, logs that showed unknown ships watching Empire space from a distance, ships that, they now realized, were early human vessels. As Miller's fleet finished destroying the shipyard, she received a new message from Earth Command. Admiral Stone's voice came through clear. "Phase 1 complete, Captain. Good hunting." Miller turned to her crew. "Set course for the next target." The Empire thought we would hide behind our defenses after their attack. Instead, we're showing them what humanity can really do. In the War Council chamber, the truth finally began to sink in. They hadn't found a primitive civilization. They had found an enemy that had been watching, learning, and preparing to fight them for hundreds of years. Lord Grey looked out at the stars through the council chamber's window. Somewhere out there, human ships could be passing right through space itself, preparing to strike anywhere at any time. For the first time in Empire history, they weren't the hunters. They were the prey. The Empire's top scientists gathered around a holographic display showing Earth's solar system. What they saw made them increasingly nervous. The asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, which they had dismissed as natural space debris, was now revealing its true nature. "Those aren't mining stations," one scientist said, his voice shaking. "They're factories. Military factories. Deep within the asteroid belt, massive hidden facilities were coming to life. For decades, humans had claimed they were mining precious metals. The Empire had watched with amusement as humans sent primitive ships to plant their simple mining operations. They weren't laughing anymore. Admiral Stone stood in one of these facilities, watching through reinforced windows as automated assembly lines produced more warships. Around him, machinery that had waited years for this moment worked at full power. Each asteroid facility could produce one fully equipped ghost ship every day. Status report, Stone commanded. His assistant pulled up a holographic display. All 37 asteroid facilities are now running at full capacity, sir. The Empire still doesn't realize how many we have. Stone nodded. The Empire had made another crucial mistake. They had judged Earth's military power by what they could see on the planet. They never thought to look deeper into the solar system. Meanwhile, on an Empire border world, Lord Red watched in horror as another defense fleet was torn apart. The human ships seemed to be everywhere at once, striking without warning and disappearing before the Empire could respond. "My lord," an officer reported, "we've lost contact with another supply convoy. The humans, they're not just attacking our military targets anymore. They're cutting off our supply lines." Lord Red slammed his fist on his command console. How are they producing so many ships? Their planet showed no signs of advanced manufacturing. The answer came from an unexpected source. A junior analyst rushed into the command center, holding data records. "My lord, we've been analyzing their asteroid belt. Those mining operations, they weren't mining. They were building." On Earth, Stone received reports from his fleets. The Empire was finally beginning to understand the scale of what they faced. But there was still one more surprise waiting. "Activate the Jupiter array," Stone ordered. Hidden in orbit around Jupiter, massive energy collectors had been gathering the gas giant's radiation for years. Now they powered up, channeling that energy into the largest weapon humanity had ever built. The Empire detected the power surge too late. Before they could react, a beam of concentrated energy cut through space, slicing through one of their largest military bases like it was made of paper. In the Empire's War Council, panic spread as the reports came in. "They have planet-killer technology," one council member shouted. "How is this possible?" Lord Grey, who had been quiet since his defeat at Earth, finally spoke up. "We misunderstood everything about them. Their mining operations were military preparation. Their primitive satellites were advanced weapons. Even their cargo ships were probably mapping our defenses." The council chamber fell silent as security footage played on their screens. It showed human ghost ships appearing inside Empire bases, deploying those terrible Menites, and vanishing again. The Empire's mighty warships fell apart piece by piece, devoured by microscopic machines. Back in the asteroid belt, Stone received word that the Empire had finally discovered their manufacturing capabilities. He wasn't concerned. "They're looking at our asteroid belt," he said to his staff. "They still haven't found our facilities in the Kuiper Belt." His words made his officers smile. The Empire thought they had finally understood humanity's true power. They had no idea that what they'd discovered was less than half of Earth's real military strength. "Sir," an officer reported, "the Empire is pulling back their forces. They're trying to create a defensive line." Stone looked at the tactical display, showing the Empire's retreating ships. "Let them run," he said quietly. "They're about to learn why you don't wake a sleeping giant." The Empire had thought they were dealing with a primitive civilization. Instead, they had woken a military power that had spent centuries preparing for this exact war. And humanity was just getting started. Lord Red stood before the Empire's full council, his voice filled with barely controlled rage. "We must use the planet killer. We can't let these humans humiliate us any longer." The planet killer was the Empire's greatest weapon, a massive ship that could destroy entire worlds. They had only used it twice in their entire history, and both times had been enough to make rebellious species surrender immediately. Lord Grey watched from his seat, now understanding how desperate his fellow leaders had become. "The humans have proven to be far more dangerous than we thought," he warned. "Are we sure this is wise?" But the Council had already made their decision. The planet killer would target Heaven's Gate, humanity's largest colony world. On Earth, Admiral Stone received the intelligence about the Empire's plan within minutes. Their spies, hidden throughout Empire space for decades, had warned them about this possibility. "Should we evacuate Heaven's Gate, sir?" his assistant asked. Stone's face showed no worry. "No need. Let them waste their greatest weapon. It's time to show them another surprise." The planet killer appeared near Heaven's Gate 3 days later. The massive ship, nearly the size of a moon, charged its main weapon. Empire commanders watched eagerly, expecting to finally see the humans' confidence break. Lord Red smiled as the planet killer fired its world-ending beam. "Let's see how brave these humans are when they watch their colony burn." But something impossible happened. Just as the beam was about to hit the planet, the entire colony flickered like a bad hologram and vanished. "What?" Lord Red screamed. "Where did they go?" The answer came moments later. The entire colony reappeared, completely intact, on the other side of the planet. Empire sensors detected the truth. The humans had developed quantum teleportation technology capable of moving entire cities instantly. In Earth's command center, Stone allowed himself a small smile. "Send the message." Every Empire communication channel suddenly activated. Stone's voice reached every Empire ship and base in the sector. "That was your best weapon. Would you like to see one of ours?" Before the Empire could respond, sensors detected massive energy readings from the Heaven's Gate system star. The humans had built something around it, a massive ring of satellites that had remained invisible until now. "Energy readings are off the scale," an Empire scientist shouted. They're harnessing the star's power." A beam of pure stellar energy lashed out from the ring structure. It missed the planet killer by mere meters. A clear warning shot that showed the humans could have destroyed their greatest weapon at any time. Lord Red fell into his command chair, his scales pale with shock. "Impossible. They can weaponize stars." In the Empire Council chamber, Lord Grey finally spoke the words no one wanted to hear. "We need to replace the current leadership. This war is destroying us." The Council erupted in argument, but deep down, they knew he was right. The Empire had started this war expecting an easy victory. Instead, each attack had revealed another layer of humanity's hidden strength. Back at Heaven's Gate, the colony's governor sent a message to Earth. The evacuation drill worked perfectly. "Admiral, though I wish you had told us the Empire's planet killer was real and not just a test scenario." Stone's reply was simple. "Sometimes the best way to keep a secret is to hide it in plain sight, even from our own people." The Empire Council made their decision. Lord Red was removed from power, and Lord Grey was given command of all military forces. His first action was to send a message to Earth requesting a ceasefire. Stone read the message but didn't respond immediately. Instead, he opened a secure channel to Captain Miller's Ghost Fleet. "Begin Phase 5, he ordered. "Let's make sure they understand that a ceasefire request isn't enough. We want full peace talks." The Empire was about to learn that even their desperate attacks had played right into humanity's hands. After all, humans hadn't spent centuries preparing for war just to accept a simple ceasefire. They wanted to make sure this would never happen again. Deep in the Empire's central archives, Lord Grey stood surrounded by ancient data crystals. After taking command of the Empire's forces, his first order had been to search through their oldest records. He needed to understand how they had misjudged humans so badly. "My lord," an archive researcher called out, his voice shaking with excitement. "We found something. Records from 800 years ago." The holographic display flickered to life, showing a report from an ancient Empire scout ship. The images made Lord Grey's scales tingle with shock. Their crystal clear was a primitive human spacecraft at the edge of their solar system. 800 years ago. "Play the rest," Lord Grey ordered. More records appeared. Every few decades, Empire ships had spotted human vessels observing them from distance. The humans had always vanished before they could be approached. At the time, the Empire had dismissed these sightings as unimportant. That had been their greatest mistake. On Earth, Admiral Stone walked through a different kind of archive, a massive underground facility known as the Legacy Vault. Here, humanity kept the true history of their space program. "Show them," Stone ordered, and the vault's AI activated the main display. The real story of humanity played out before them. 1,000 years ago, Earth's first deep space probe had detected the Empire's expansion. Instead of panic, Earth's leaders had made an incredible decision. They would hide their true progress. "Our ancestors were brilliant," Stone said to his staff. "They understood that the Empire would eventually find us, so they created the greatest deception in human history." The vault showed how humans had developed their technology in secret. On the surface, they maintained the appearance of slow progress, rockets, satellites, and simple space stations. But hidden beneath the surface, humanity was advancing at an incredible pace. In the Empire archives, Lord Grey watched recording after recording. Hidden human ships had watched every Empire conquest, studied every Empire weapon, and learned every Empire weakness. For centuries, they had gathered intelligence while appearing to be nothing more than a primitive species. "We never stood a chance," Lord Grey whispered. "They were preparing to fight us before we even knew they existed." The vault on Earth revealed more. Every major human breakthrough had been carefully planned to look natural. The moon landing, Mars colonies, asteroid mining, all had been carefully staged to hide their true capabilities. But why? A young officer asked Stone. "Why didn't we just build up our forces openly?" Stone smiled. "Because our ancestors learned from watching the Empire. Any civilization that showed rapid military growth was seen as a threat and destroyed. By appearing primitive, we bought ourselves centuries to prepare." In the Empire's War Council chamber, Lord Grey presented his findings. The council members watched in stunned silence as he showed them the truth. "We didn't discover Earth," he explained. "They discovered us. Everything we saw, their primitive technology, their simple defenses, their basic space program, was a mask that hid the most patient and methodical military buildup in galactic history." One council member spoke up, his voice trembling. "Are you saying they planned this war for 1,000 years?" "No," Lord Grey replied. "They planned to prevent this war for 1,000 years. When I first met their Admiral Stone, he warned us to turn back. They didn't want this fight. We forced it upon them." Back in the Legacy Vault, Stone touched a display panel, revealing humanity's current military strength. The Empire had discovered their asteroid belt facilities, but they still didn't know about the shipyards hidden in dark matter clouds, or the weapon platforms disguised as comets, or the fleets waiting in parallel dimensions. "Send word to all commands," Stone ordered. "It's time for the final phase. Show the Empire enough of our strength to make them understand, but not so much that they feel hopeless." Because that had been humanity's true goal all along. Not to destroy the Empire, but to ensure a lasting peace, even if they had to achieve it through careful deception and overwhelming force. The Empire had thought they were dealing with primitives. Instead, they had attacked a civilization that had spent a millennium becoming the perfect opponent. The Empire's Senate chamber was filled to capacity. Representatives from every Empire world gathered to hear Earth's terms for peace. Lord Grey stood at his position, watching as Admiral Stone approached the central speaking platform. No human had ever stood in this chamber before. Stone wore his simple blue uniform, carrying no weapons. Yet every Empire senator could feel the power he represented. "Before I present our terms," Stone began, his voice calm and clear, "I would like to show you something." He pressed a small device on his wrist. Suddenly, every screen in the Empire, from the Senate chamber to the farthest colony world, went dark. Their entire faster-than-light communication network simply stopped working. Panic spread through the chamber. "Don't worry," Stone said, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Your systems will be back online in exactly 1 minute. This is just a demonstration." Lord Grey watched the reaction of his fellow senators. They finally understood. The humans could shut down their entire civilization with the push of a button. Exactly 1 minute later, all systems returned to normal. "What you just witnessed," Stone continued, "was one small part of our capabilities. We could have done this at any time in the last 100 years. We could have shut down your ships, disabled your weapons, or destroyed your communications permanently." The chamber was completely silent now. "But that's not what we want," Stone said. "We never wanted war. Remember, we warned you to turn back." He activated a holographic display, showing a map of human space. "These are our terms. This region of space becomes a restricted zone. No Empire ships will enter it. In return, we will not expand beyond these borders without prior agreement." A senator stood up, his voice shaking with anger. "You expect us to just give up that much territory?" Stone's reply was firm. "You don't understand. We're not asking. We're telling you where we already are." The map changed, revealing hidden human colonies and installations throughout the region. Stations disguised as asteroids, bases hidden in gas giants, and entire worlds shielded by technology the Empire couldn't detect. "We've been here all along," Stone explained, "living and building right under your sensors. This isn't a demand for territory. It's simply making official what has always been true." Lord Grey stepped forward. "And if we refuse?" Stone's expression remained neutral. "Then we'll show you what else we've been hiding. The shutdown of your networks was just our warning shot. Ask yourself, if this is what we're willing to show you, what are we keeping hidden?" The Senate erupted in discussion. Stone waited patiently as they debated. He knew what their decision would be. After all, humanity had planned for this moment for centuries. After hours of debate, the Empire Senate voted. The peace treaty was approved. As Stone prepared to leave, Lord Grey approached him privately. "There's one thing I don't understand," he said. "Why reveal your strength now? Why not stay hidden?" Stone smiled slightly. "Because true peace can only come from understanding. You needed to know enough to respect us, but not so much that you'd fear us too greatly. Balance, Lord Grey. That's what our ancestors spent 1,000 years working toward." In Earth's command center, Stone's staff watched as the Empire signed the treaty. One officer spoke up. "Sir, should we tell them about our colonies in the Andromeda Galaxy?" Stone shook his head. "No, let them think they know our full strength. Sometimes the best defense is letting your opponent believe they've seen all your cards." The peace treaty was broadcasted across both Empire and human space. As Stone returned to Earth, he looked out at the stars. Humanity had achieved what their ancestors had planned for: peace through strength, respect through preparation, and security through patience. Lord Grey stood in his chamber, watching Earth's ships depart. An aide approached with a report about unusual energy readings from a nearby galaxy. Grey thought for a moment, then deleted the report without reading it. Some questions, he decided, were better left unasked. After all, the humans had warned them once. This time, the Empire would listen.